College sports tomorrow, which is some university presidents, former administrators, conference commissioners, venture capitalists, and apparently Roger Goodell's right-hand man. They are trying to set up meetings, and it should be noted the ACC and Big 12 backed out on meetings to meet with the college sports tomorrow out of fear of retribution of the
meetings
Big Ten,
to meet with
of the Big 10 and the SEC. They did not. They said, we're not going to do this.
Nope.
We are out. We're not. We don't want to ruffle any feathers here. But as it lays, the top 70 teams in college football would be safe from relegation, and they would form 7 divisions of 10 teams. This is the Power 5 as we know it, plus Notre Dame, plus SMU. And then 50 schools would vie for promotion into a 10-team division that would fluctuate in promotion and relegation from the top tier down to the bottom tier. How would this look? And that's interesting thing. And Sam Kahn, who works for The Athletic, he just said, I'll take a stab at this. And it just sounds like how college football used to be. The ACC would consist of Florida State, North Carolina, Clemson, Duke, Georgia Tech, Virginia, Wake Forest, and then original members of the ACC, Maryland and South Carolina. Okay?
Yep.
In a playoff format, you would have the 8 conference champions and then 8 division champions and then 8 at-large wild cards, essentially, would be in the 16-team playoff. Okay? So this year, Florida State would have gone to the playoff as the winner of the ACC. No other team would have made it. The Big East would be back for football because a 10-team division of what is now kind of amalgamation of the ACC, Big 10, and Big 12 would be Louisville, Notre Dame, West Virginia, Miami, Virginia Tech, Boston College, Rutgers, Syracuse, Pitt, and Cincinnati. Louisville would have gotten the bid from them.
Yep.
They were ranked 7th this year in college football. The Big 10 would be the original Big 10, except for they're given in Sam's thing, and I don't see this happening, they would give the boot to Northwestern and keep Penn State. I think that wouldn't happen. Penn State would have to find a new place because I think they're never going to get rid of the original Big 10 because they now have 18 teams and are still called the Big 10. They would be Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, Purdue, Michigan State, and Indiana. Big 10 would have gotten 4 bids out of that division with Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and Iowa all ranked in the top 15. There is the Pac-10 would exist. Washington, Oregon, Arizona, Oregon State, USC, UCLA, Cal, Washington State, Arizona State, and Stanford. We would all love to see that.
Mm-hmm.
They would have gotten 2 bids, while the SEC would have been, there would have been some big shift there. They would be Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, LSU, Tennessee, Kentucky, Auburn, Florida, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt. Georgia, Bama, Ole Miss, all going to the playoffs this year. The Southwest Conference would be back, which is Texas, SMU, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, TCU, Houston, Arkansas, and Baylor. That went away in, 96?
That's essentially the office picture of the Mexican standoff, but with nothing but Texas teams.
And they're back. Yeah. And then, hey, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Yep. In Arkansas out of the SEC back into the Southwest Conference. That'd be fun.
Nobody really wants Arkansas.
And then there's like this division where it's like nobody really wants them and they don't have historically deep roots.
Sure.
And this would be Missouri, Kansas State, Kansas, Utah, Iowa State, Northwestern, UCF, Nebraska, BYU, and Colorado. And
that makes sense.
I mean, it's a lot of travel, but it makes sense. And it's mostly still regionalized. I mean, that conference is not, but it's mostly regionalized. And
this is you're who's left, and you really don't have any ties to anything.
And I think like what is great about having these 7 divisions is all of those old rivalries are back.
It's regional rivalries.
And you know what else it does? Creates uniform scheduling. Every single team would have to play 9 conference games. You play every single team in your division, and then you have 3 non-conference games. I think that is great, and it would be great for college football. Here's how the promotion and relegation would have looked for the 2023 season, okay? And this is important because this is the one that would have the biggest change and the biggest shift because what you would have if you take the results from 2022 and you take the conference champions from the group of 5 and then the next highest ranked teams or teams that finished with the best records in the group of 5, you would have had for 2023, the teams that would have been promoted into the league from the 2022 season would have been Tulane, Toledo, Troy, Ohio, Texas San Antonio, Fresno State, Boise State, Coastal Carolina, Navy, and North Texas.
A lot of spiciness in there.
Yeah, and the travel is going to be a mess for that one. But hey, guess what? You're at the big boys table, and you're going to love being there.
You can afford it.
Okay, so what would promotion and relegation look like in the top tiers of English soccer? Right, it's like it's 2 in, 2 out, 3 in, 3 out, 4 in, 4 out. But if you were to take the bottom 2 and you just say, for the sake of making this nice round numbers, 2 teams out, the teams that would be relegated from this season would be Navy and North Texas. They would go down to the pool of teams that did not make it.
Navy in the pool.
I see what I did there.
Yeah.
The teams that would be promoted this year for 2024, Liberty and James Madison.
Which I think on merit, you could say they earned it, even though they get the crap kicked out of them by Oregon.
Yeah.
But still, like, you did what you were supposed to do. Which, yes.
It would be fantastic. And the playoff matchups in a 16-team playoff, 16 is a lot of teams to be making the playoffs.
It is.
You would have your playoff matchups would have been Georgia, SMU, Oregon, Tulane in an 8-9 matchup, Texas, Penn State, Ole Miss, Florida State, Alabama, Missouri, Washington, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Louisville, Michigan, Iowa. And I think they would probably, like they do in the NCAA tournament, you wouldn't play a team from your own division. So you'd have some jockeying there. And
moving those things around, sure.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to have Bama, Missouri would work because they would play in a different division, but you're not going to have Michigan, Iowa. They're going to flip that and to have a more, they probably flip them in Oklahoma. So you'd have Washington, Oklahoma, and Michigan, Oklahoma, Washington, Iowa, and Oklahoma, Michigan. And I think that all makes sense, right? A 16-team playoff. I'm for promotion and relegation. I think this is the best answer that we've seen to what the future of college football that makes sense moving forward would be. I find it so hard to believe that because I think this is makes the most sense because the teams that are in the Power 5 right now aren't losing their seat at the table. And that is a massive hurdle to clear. The one that I don't see them clearing is the Big Ten and the SEC saying we'll take less money and manipulating the television networks to get their way and pay one entity as opposed to individual conferences. Yeah. It sucks. It sucks that that's where college football is, but hopefully by 2030, I think that when that first TV deal expires, I think we may be in a place where we sit there and we say, no, college sports does need one singular entity overseeing football especially.
Yes.
And this would make sense for basketball too.
Yeah, I mean, you do it a little bit differently and there'd be more schools involved because already right now your tournament is 68.
Yep.
So you probably bump that to 80.
Yeah.
I think it's probably where you get to.
I love those old conferences coming back.
Yeah, no, it's great, to be honest.
The old school Pac-10 would be electric again. Like, without Utah and Colorado, sorry, they were great for the conference.
Yeah.
No, get the old Pac-10 being back, the Southwest Conference being back, Big East football coming back.
Swack me up.
Let's go.
Or sack me up. No?
You know what to do, Rust. Yeah, it's a drop of Palooza today. It's a drop of Palooza.
It's a good day. We're making sure you're awake back there.